For the first time since 2014, NASCAR and TNT are reuniting. TNT returning to the sport in a reunion that I think a lot of people have really hyped up. So what can we expect out of it? Because there's plenty of hype with it, but why is there? Well, I want to say first off, it will not be like how it was before. For instance, when NBC came back to the sport in 2015, it was far away from how it was when they left off in 2006. Graphics were different, camera quality was different, personnel for the most part was different, and that's going to be the same thing with TNT. TV coverage and sports coverage in general has changed since 2014. We're not going to have the same kind of graphics. We're not going to have the same people, as we'll get into in a bit. And we're not going to have really the TNT you all remember. This is going to basically be like starting from scratch. And I also will say this will not be like the Prime broadcasts. Yeah, there's a lot of crossover, and that's really good. But there's a difference between cable and streaming. It is not going to have the freedom that Prime does when it comes to TV windows, commercials, and so on and so forth. So I think those need to be addressed right off the top. But who is it going to be there? Well, the booth is the same as Prime. Adam Alexander returns to TNT as he left off in 2014. Then you got Steve Letarte as the crew chief, who is just like how he is in Prime and looking like NBC, as well as Dale Earnhardt Jr. as your driver analyst. The booth is solid. They have plenty of chemistry, and I think that that's only going to continue for another 5 weeks, so I see no problems here. In the pits, it's a little different. Of course, you got Old Reliable with Marty Snyder. He was at the TNT portion of the season when it was NBC and TNT in the 2000s, as well as TNT itself through 2014. He is one of the best out there. I'm glad he's staying around. Danielle Trotta will be joining the pits, and she is, for the most part, had a very much of a hosting role in her career, whether it be on NASCAR Race Hub back in the day, or SiriusXM, or the pre- and post-race shows for Prime. I'm interested to see, even as professional as she is, how she can do in that aspect. She's very well plugged into the sport and knows her stuff, so I don't think knowledge will be in any way one of the defining criteria that would go against her. And then Alan Cavanna, who I think a lot of people are not going to be as informed on or know who he is as much. And I'll say this, I'm glad he has this role. Cavanna is a younger person in the media space, has enthusiasm for the sport, and I think this is a great opportunity for him. He is someone who shows a lot of confidence on screen and is able to talk to the best of the best. We've had him on our shows before, and the guy is top tier. So I love this pit reporting group too as well. Then there's the studio pre- and assumedly post-race. Shannon Spake will be at the helm of this one. She is one of the best when it comes to hosting NASCAR shows. For years, she hosted NASCAR Race Hub, and that was back when it was the CGI Studio NASCAR Race Hub that we saw with the later years of FS1. She works on the NASCAR YouTube channel. She's hosted these kind of shows before, and she will fit into this like fitting well into a glove. She knows what she's doing, top tier when it comes to the hiring here. And then Jamie McMurray and Parker Kligerman will join as well as driver analysts in the studio for pre- and post-race as well. I would assume they'd have more of the role they have with the CW when it comes to their pre- and post-race coverage, and they've been pretty good with that. So I think that Spake should fit in just like Adam Alexander would, as these two have chemistry and have worked with Shannon Spake before as well. Mamba Smith will contribute on Bleacher Report, so that'll be a lot of positive reporting. And then you have True TV with the Altcast, that having Jeff Burton as well as Larry McReynolds joining the Turner family again. This more or less being dedicated to the in-season tournament. And speaking of which, the in-season tournament, a head-to-head matchup each week between a bunch of different drivers in a March Madness style grid, going from the first 32, which we have now, which were the top 32 in points, from the 3 races ago and then accumulating those points to now. It's kind of stupid how they set it up. But it'll go from 32 to 16 to 8 to 4 to 2, and finally at the end, 1 winner. That winner gets $1 million, and you can actually guess on your own bracket online on NASCAR.com, and you could win $1 million out of it. The odds, well, they're not going to be in anybody's favor, but one lucky son of a gun is going to leave this next 5 weeks a millionaire. And what do these 5 weeks entail? Well, races 18 through 22, that's the low end of it, but they have a number of different tracks. Atlanta, or as many will call it now, Echo Park, a super speedway 1.5-mile racetrack to start off the tenure, which is this week, and a track that is a complete wild card both for the playoff gridding as well as the in-season tournament. The next week, starting off in July, we have the Chicago Street Course. This is the third and looking like final year that this street race will be taking up a spot on the NASCAR schedule. The city of Chicago has been pretty mum on not coming back, but it seems like they really don't want to. NASCAR is saying never, but more or less it seems like this date will be replaced by San Diego next year, one way or another, or maybe Chicagoland. So there's an added specialty with Chicago and a little bit of finality to it. Sonoma follows that up as the middle point of the summer stretch. This is the lone track that's returning that was at every year of the 2007 to 2014 TNT Summer Six-Pack. Dover follows it up, so they go all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast to the Monster Mile, which has a lone date in the middle of the summer, and then they'll close it off at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the mecca of motorsports, the most hallowed grounds of racing for the Brickyard 400's second year in its return to the NASCAR schedule. All in all, a very interesting assortment of tracks, and it leads up to the last 14 races of the year, which are the run to the playoffs and the playoffs themselves. I will say, when it comes to my expectations, there's a couple things. I think that those on air will be incredibly good with their chemistry. And there's a ton of professionals down in the pits, as well as in the studio. I don't think there'll be a problem. I also think that we're going to hear a lot more about the in-season tournament rather than playoffs, which I think a lot of fans actually will take as a welcome change. My expectations is that on the good end, if they end up being the best they can be, this will be a CW level broadcast, which I think is pretty good and I really like so far. Might have a little issue with it here and there, but in general, I like it. On the bad end, I think they'll at least be better than Fox, even if it's marginally. But I don't think they're going to be that bad. So what do you think? How are your expectations for TNT's return to NASCAR? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And be sure tonight to watch on my channel, NWP, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, our host of Eric Estep and Danny B Talks will be on, as well as special guest Michael Marutz to break it all down. So until then, have a good one.